Welcome to the Friends of Israel's Jew and Gentile podcast. I am your host, Chris Katulka, and with me is none other than the Jewish sage himself, the one, the only, Mr. Steve Herzig. Are you happy?
I'm happy, Chris.
Why are you happy?
I'm happy because of ice cream.
Ice cream?
Ice cream doesn't make me that happy, but I'm happy because my wife's happy because a doctor said ice cream makes you happy.
So wait a minute. We have an official medical professional telling us eat ice cream.
That's exactly right.
And not because it's necessarily healthy for you.
Although he said it has good qualities, good nutritional qualities.
Okay, but he also is saying the greatest benefit is what?
The greatest benefit is fellowship together. He doesn't use that word. He will talk about community together. He'll talk about the physiological thing that happens when you eat something like ice cream. It makes your body, you're happy. I'm happy.
Well, this happens to you when you hear this song.
Oh.
You know, when you begin to hear this song right here.
Oh, I love this song.
This is your song.
Pharrell Williams. I'm into it.
Pharrell Williams.
Yeah.
Now, just FYI, whenever Steve and I would have a meeting with some of our colleagues for the
Especially in
accounting department, Steve would always say, you know what? I'm happy when he would leave, and he would click.
The meeting was over, and I'd play this song. I'm happy.
And he would dance out of the meeting.
I would dance out of the meeting.
You know,
it wasn't long after that I was out of Friends of Israel. Maybe that contributed to it.
All right, well, I do want to get to this because I do think you're onto something here, Steve, because you also sent a video of this particular doctor that I want to highlight.
That's right. The brother of Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago. This is Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel.
That's right.
Boy, what do you think?
Yeah.
Dr.
Is he
Ezekiel
Jewish?
Emanuel. Jewish or not Jewish? What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Jewish.
I just love what he says at almost the very beginning of this show. It's on CBS Sunday Morning. It was.
Before we hear from Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, and we've already kind of said this guy's a Jewish guy, you come prepared with the podcast with a saying to really...
Well, I'll have you read it, Chris.
That's right.
This saying is a great one and perfect right before Dr. Emanuel talks.
And I'll just say, you know, there are part of being Jewish in the Bible is identity. It's the markers.
It's who you are.
Okay, and so those things aren't necessarily just biblical. They also kind of cross over into like everyday life. And one of them is right here in a great saying that identifies the Jewish people.
100%.
You've already identified IBS as one of them, right?
100%. 100%.
Okay, well, here's another one.
If somebody has stomach issues, you better get your DNA checked. You're probably Jewish.
Okay. Well, here's one that says, here's a non-Jewish saying, okay? I'd like to get a second opinion.
That's what the Goyim say.
That's right, okay? That's something that I might say. I'd like to get a second opinion.
What would I say?
Now, Jewish people would say, I'd like to give a second opinion.
100%. Probably, the chances are even much better, they'd like to give you a third and fourth opinion.
Well, and that's the reason why Dr. Emanuel is giving you his opinion.
That's right. He's on CBS Sunday Morning. I don't know what year this was or how recent it was, but as soon as this came across my feed from YouTube, I sent it to my wife who loves ice cream. It makes her happy.
And here's what Dr. Emanuel has to say.
As we ring in the new year, a respected physician is sharing some tips for a happy and healthy 2026 with Nora O'Donnell, starting with a suggestion you just might not expect.
I already like the music.
I'll take a little dark chocolate and
Look at that, dark
that pistachio.
Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel is serving up some unusual advice as you start out 2026.
Eat your ice cream. That doesn't sound like a New Year's resolution.
Ice cream will make you happy.
There you go.
Very important.
Why would I live longer eating ice cream?
Ice cream is a good dairy product. It's got
Notice
protein,
he's eating with his mouth,
saturated
talking with
fats
his
are in
mouth
the
full.
globule,
Also
so
Jewish.
it doesn't affect you as much as saturated fats and meats and other things. Plus, you typically do it socially with someone else. And being happy is a very important part of living a long time.
I rest my
That's
case.
it right there.
Bada bing.
Again, the thing I'll go to Dr. Emanuel any day of the week.
I love this guy.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things that the doctor doesn't often have on the list of ways to, have a healthy life is happiness. And the Bible talks about being happy. When the Beatitudes, when Jesus is giving the Beatitudes, he's saying, what's a happy life? Bada bing, bada boom. The Proverbs talk about what a happy life is. God was concerned with your happiness as well.
And even when you eat, Chris, now does this put a smile on your face?
Yes.
Only Jewish people can take food and make a smile out of it.
That's right. And if you can't see it, which I know you can't really, but it's a picture of a bagel with some onion eyes
The
and some.
the bagel is the lips, the ears are the tomato, the onions are the eyebrows and the eyeballs, and what are those little things called? I can't even.
Oh, the capers.
The capers. Capers are the eyeballs. And the lox is the nose.
That's it. You see, I wish she had a bigger nose though, because I like the lox a lot.
I actually like the fact that it's a Jewish dish and the guy's got a small nose.
That's it. All right, Steve. Well, we've got a few more things here for our introduction. You found this great video about Christian astronauts, which, again, there's an interesting balance between science and faith. And, we would say, well, our faith in God drives our understanding of science because God is the creator of all those things. And a humanist way would say,
but we're not experts, Chris.
we're no scientists.
We're not. We could say that, but we don't have any credentials. These guys have the goods.
Oh, yeah. They've got some panache, and we want to bring that panache to you. So, Steve, maybe set this up for us.
Well, this is from Answers in Genesis. And, Chris, there's a lot of stuff going around about, for years, that the United States really didn't go to the moon. The whole thing is a fake and a lie. Well, here are three astronauts. The oldest one, Charlie Duke, was actually on the moon in Apollo 16. And the other two guys, one was on SpaceX. They've walked in space. And they talk about that experience, but they also talk about the Lord Jesus. And I just thought Answers in Genesis did a great job. And I wanted to just let our 7 listeners have an opportunity, because we always put these kinds of things in our notes, our show notes, so they could go back and watch it on their own. But we could give them a taste of what this video had. I just liked it a lot.
Yeah, and it's really good too because, like I said, it's driving home the idea of faith in Jesus as somebody who is very intelligent when it comes to astrophysics, or when it comes to, you name it, whatever the science is that brought them either to the International Space Station, and even one of them, Steve's 90 years old.
Yeah, Charlie Duke.
90. All right, so here we go. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video that Steve brings to us.
My flight, we'd gone into orbit.
Steve, I just wanted to highlight before we share that, I forgot to rewind. Now we can go to it. Here we go.
To be honest, my first thought was, we're a long way from home. I hope this thing holds together.
Boy, is this fun.
I'd watched Charlie Duke walk on the moon when I was a kid. How did I get here? How did I get to this point where I am the guy in this seat and all this is taking place?
One of the top highlights of the whole experience was doing spacewalks. The hardest thing we did physically and mentally, but the most rewarding too.
How can you believe in the Bible and science? I mean, don't you think that's kind of contradictory?
Well, and then so, we don't really have time to get into all of it, but I do want to highlight Charlie Duke here in the conversation that he has. And I think it's a really interesting one as they interact with each other. And that starts here at the 4-minute mark.
Wow moment.
I think one of the most moving
This
times
is
of
Butch
my
Wilmore.
flight, we'd
Butch
gone
Wilmore.
into orbit around the moon, and we came around from the backside, and we had Earthrise for the very first time. To be honest,
no,
my
that's
first
Charlie
thought
Duke.
was,
Sorry.
we're a long way from home. I hope this thing holds together. But then the beauty of it hit. That vision of Earth, it's just a beautiful
Isn't that
planet.
incredible?
You don't
Amazing.
see any evidence of civilization. It's just that jewel just suspended in the blackness of space, vividly impressed in my mind. still
Job
today.
says the
General,
earth is
when
hung on
you
nothing.
say that,
Yes,
and I
on
think,
nothing.
wow,
How did he
that
know that?
vantage point of our planet from the backside of coming around the backside of the moon. There's only 24 individuals that experience that, a total of 24 ever. and you were one of them. That's very special. That is a gift the Lord gave you that not many people have had the opportunity to experience.
Well, and so we've got the full video for you to watch, and it's definitely extremely interesting to see, these men discuss their faith, how it applies to what the scriptures teach, and how, I believe that when you're a believer in the Lord Jesus, I like that he took inventory in that moment. I'm sure a lot of people stop and they go, this is amazing. But to think that he gets a vantage point of God's creation that only 24 people in human history have ever had.
It is amazing.
It's amazing to think about.
It is amazing. And, it is credit to the human species. It's an amazing thing to be able to launch yourself from Earth, go all the way to the moon, drop somebody on there, have them come back, all the different mathematical equations, all the different physics, and all that engineering that you have to do. And yet, we only have explored a feather width amount of God's enormous creation, and he spoke it all into existence.
It's funny to hear him say too, I hope this thing holds together. To me, I would be saying that upon takeoff, not even landing on the moon.
No question.
Right there on takeoff, I'd say, I hope this thing holds together. Steve, another little intro thing that we have here for us as we're entering into 2026 is the top 10 discoveries of 2025. Steve, what do you got for us here?
Well, here I have let's see, what's this from? Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
Bada bing.
First one they say is adhesive that bonds on command and comes apart just as easily.
That's wild.
What is going on here? That's unbelievable. Shlomo Magadasi of Hebrew University, together with Professor Hannah Dodiuk of Shenkar College and PhD student Nathaniel Jarek, developed a new adhesive that resolves a long-standing challenge. It combines strength and sustainability. The material bonds rapidly under visible light to glass, plastic, and metals, even underwater, Chris, and it works on command.
That is wild.
It's just unbelievable. Then a new way to design antibiotics in the fight against resistance.
That's a big one now, too.
That's huge because antibiotics, we've been using them a long time, but your body, it becomes resistant to them.
It adapts to it.
So this adapts to the adaption.
This is another one. Is the secret to beating the flu hidden inside chocolate?
You're happy. You're happy when you have the flu because now you can get chocolate.
That's two Jewish people trying to tell you, eat some ice cream and chocolate, you'll be all right. Okay.
Not only will you'll be cured.
That's right. A study led by Professor Isaiah Shai Arkin of Hebrew University of Jerusalem revealed that thermobrine, a compound found in chocolate combined with another molecule, aerosine, outperformed.
You could tell we're not scientists.
That's right.
We're butchering the scientific language.
Outperformed Tamiflu in fighting even the deadliest flu strains in labs and animal tests.
Let's see, Terraflu or chocolate.
That's
what
right.
are you going with?
Now we know why Olive. Now we know why Alice is always so healthy.
100%. And number 4, we can't go through all 10, but could a simple blood test change how Parkinson's is diagnosed? Chris, that would be remarkable if they were able to find out really early in the process by just a simple blood test.
Here's one. When light acts like a magnet. Researchers at Hebrew University of Jerusalem, led by Dr. Amir Kapua and Benjamin Assolin from the Institute of Electrical Engineering and Applied Physics, have shown that light can influence materials magnetically in ways long thought negligible. That is wild to think about. And these are the people who invented the iron beam, too, you know?
Chris, these are discoveries, recent ones, and of course, they're Jewish. Remember, I told you, we invent everything.
That's right. You're right.
We get no credit.
I give you credit.
But on Jew and Gentile podcast, We're getting the credit.
You can give all the credit you want, my friend. I'm happy to give it to you. Okay, everybody, we want to spend a moment here talking about what's going on in Iran. It's a big deal. Currently we have U.S. participation in President Donald Trump encouraging the protesters to take over their country. That came out yesterday, January 14th, after I think bad faith negotiations. I don't even know if they've reached negotiations, but the Iranian leadership, the Ayatollahs, the Islamic Republic, is murdering protesters. I've heard with machine guns just shooting into the crowd. There's anywhere that I've heard from 600 to 2,000 or 3,000 that are dead. That could be more by the time you hear this. And so I think because of that, Donald Trump has basically said, protesters, take over your country, take over your institutions. And he even said
help is on the way.
Help is on the way. And
I don't know what that means, but boy, that's amazing.
Well, he also said, Steve, he said, remember the names of those who have persecuted. You're going to want to remember those names, which I think is a...
Well, in fact, do you know that the guy who was like the person at Tiananmen Square, it happened in Iran? Do you know what I'm talking about, guys? All right. They have those names of the people that were attacking him and brutalizing him, and they've already posted it.
Oh, did they really?
Yep. And that I think that's what Donald Trump was alluding to. Not keep doing that. Yeah. Because they'll find them out.
So there's that's going on. So you have protests that are happening. So how do these protests come about? Well, Steve, I've boiled it down to 4 things. Number 1, January 2025, the Trump administration coming into a position of power of not only America, but the leader of the free world. That's created change everywhere. You could say
chaos.
Oh, it's created change in South America with Venezuela. You saw what's going on with Israel and Gaza. Trump administration giving Israel basically the green light to take care of the situation. You see what's going on in Iran. All of these huge geopolitical changes that are happening as a result of the way President Trump administers leadership. So that's one. The next one is inflation. I think the Ayatollahs try to say it's something along the lines of 30 or 40%, but I've heard numbers as much as 300% inflation.
Their money is worthless.
It's worthless. And they're trying to give out $7 a month.
It's like in Germany in the 30s when the mark, what did they call it? I forgot what they called it.
Deutschmark.
Deutschmark. The joke was you go with a barrel full of money to go into the bakery to get a loaf of bread, and you have a whole pile full of money. The barrel is gone and the money's on the ground. The people stole the barrel because the money was worth more.
That's right. Well, there was a run on the banks recently as people were trying to take out whatever money they could. The government's trying to give $7 a month, which is bupkis, to help the Iranian people. Yeah, why would you even announce that? I just start putting $7 in there.
I did not understand that one at all. Oh, stop the presses! I'm giving you $7.
Don't worry, we're here for to the rescue. The other one, Steve, is so you got the money situation, you got the change in leadership in America. The other one is the 12-day war. I mean, Israel came in and within moments captured and took control of the Iranian skies, put the Ayatollahs in their place, let the Ayatollahs and all the leadership of Iran know we know where you are. They specifically targeted those locations. And that's actually one of the reasons why the Iranians love Benjamin Netanyahu, is because when they came in, they didn't attack civilians. They just attacked key leadership. And that actually built a sense of trust between the Iranians and Israelis.
Security.
Yeah, and security. That's right. So then the last one, though, is something I want to talk about that I don't think gets enough attention. And because it kind of moves from the realm of kind of the political day-to-day activity of why the protesters are acting and why all of a sudden the protests are so intense that it's beyond just simply Donald Trump. It's beyond simply just political instability, and it's beyond economic situations going on over there. It's beyond all that. It actually boils down to, no pun intended, water. Water is a huge issue right now.
Big issue. And God is doing something. Well, he talks about judgment in the Bible, withholding water, and it's usually in reference to the Jewish people. But who's to say it can't be again? Hey, what's good for the Jew is good for the Gentile.
That's right, exactly. You always like to say, for people who believe in replacement theology, they like the blessings, but they don't like the cursings.
100%.
But actually, Isaiah 24, I was looking at it, God is talking about judging the nations, and he talks about the land withering up, the earth withering because it's dry. Well, here, I found this Yale University article from December 18th, 2025, so just a couple weeks ago. And it says, after ruining a treasured water source, Iran is drying up. Listen to these first few sentences here. More than international sanctions, more than its stifling theocracy, more than recent bombardment by Israel and the U.S., Iran's greatest current existential crisis is what hydrologists are calling its rapidly approaching water bankruptcy. It is a crisis that has sad origin. They say the destruction and abandonment of tens of thousands of ancient tunnels for sustainability tapping underground water known as qanats that were once the envy of the arid world, but now calls for the Iranian government to restore qanats and recharge the underground water reserves that once sustained them are falling on deaf ears. After a 5th year of extreme drought, Iran's long-running water crisis reached unprecedented levels in November. The country's president, Mahmoud Pezeshkian, warned, I butchered that one, warned that Iran had, quote-unquote, no choice, I didn't know this, Steve, but to move its capital away from the arid Tehran, which now has a population of 10 million, to the wetter coastal regions, a project that would take decades and has a price estimated at by analysis at potentially $100 billion. They're moving Tehran. They're moving the capital. They have no water. What's God doing, Steve?
Chris, I'm really glad you brought this up because, we on our podcast, we often talk about what governments are doing in relationship to Israel, what Israel's doing, and we will continue to do that. But behind the scenes always is God's sovereignty and providence. And here's an example, if people have eyes to see, with all the maneuvering and with all the bravado of indeed our own country, European countries, Iran, all the bravado, what happens? God just turned the faucet off. Mm-hmm. And it is a major, major problem. In addition to whatever else Iran is facing, with no water, Chris, it's just interesting what Benjamin Netanyahu did. You told me about it. Why don't you share that with our 7 listeners?
Well, if you keep them entertained for a minute, I'll try to find Netanyahu's speech.
Well, I could be happy. I don't have any ice cream to keep them going. But Benjamin Netanyahu knows, in fact, Chris, the intelligence that Israel has in regard to what's going on in Iran not only is beneficial to Iran, but the United States. A lot of the things that they know about is because of the intelligence information they're gathering from Iran. And this water situation is one that Israel and the United States has been aware of for a long time. And that's why Bibi here, who I just see you lining up, is ready. Look, before you play it, there he is, Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's got a water with ice cubes.
Hey, can I say this too?
Israelis don't even like ice cubes.
The thing about this too is that this article from Yale comes out December 18th, 2025. It says that by November they've reached their point of no return.
Yeah,
when
they're all dry.
They're dried up. And then this video was shot August of 2025. So Netanyahu was even way ahead.
They know. They knew.
Yep.
Their intelligence is remarkable.
So here's what Netanyahu has to say. And again, let this be...
Notice his book, Out of Iran.
Yeah, he's got them stacked perfectly.
That is psychological warfare.
That's right. He's got the right books lined up. But I do want to say...
The democracy... Look, that guy's a genius.
Yeah, he's stacking books for the Iranians to see. But they love Netanyahu, and this is probably one of the reasons why. So here he is.
Greetings from Jerusalem to the proud people of Iran. Your leaders forced a 12-day war on us, and they lost miserably. They lie through their teeth, but on rare occasions, they tell the truth. A few days ago, the Iranian president said, We have problems with water, electricity, money, and inflation. Where don't we have a problem? There won't be any water in the dams by September or October. He's right. Everything is collapsing. In this brutal summer heat, you don't even have clean, cold water to give your children.
But I do.
Such hypocrisy. Such disdain for the Iranian people. To live like this is not fair to you. It's not fair to your children. But I have very good news. Israel is the #1 recycler of water in the world. We recycle 90% of our wastewater.
It's true.
It's torture. He's torturing them.
You know, when you go on a tour to Israel, I've heard this from tour guides a bunch. You know, you'll be driving down the street and you'll be in this agricultural area of Israel, and you'll see a green pipe and you'll see a purple pipe. He goes, you drink, the tour guy will tell you, drink from the green pipe, not from the purple pipe, because the purple pipe is wastewater that has been cleaned enough to be able to use for agriculture. The green pipe is fresh water for drinking, okay? So
don't get the colors mixed up. You don't want to be colorblind.
But think about that. 90% of all of their wastewater is recycled. And they have learned from, desalination, sucking water out of the air. They have machines that you turn on, boom, water's coming out of nowhere.
If you got a water problem, contact Israel.
Which countries do? They do that.
Yeah.
So maybe Iran should contact them.
The
But here we
world
go.
in desalination. We know exactly what to do, so Iran can also have plentiful water. Almost a decade ago, I opened a Telegram channel in Farsi to teach water management to Iranians. 100,000 Iranians joined almost instantly. The thirst for water in Iran is only matched by the thirst for freedom. So here's the great news. The moment your country is free, Israel's top water experts will flood into every Iranian city, bringing cutting-edge technology and know-how. We will help Iran recycle water, we'll help Iran desalinate water. And what would that look like? Just imagine water skiing again in the Karaj Dam with your family. Imagine walking hand in hand with your partner next to the bountiful river in Farahzad, which is now completely dried up. Imagine the parched trees in Yavaran and Darband getting as much plentiful water as the trees in IRGC strongholds. Imagine restoring the once stunning Urmia Lake in the northwest of Iran. Well, all this is not a dream. This can be your reality. But instead of making this a reality, your dictators impose tyranny and poverty upon you.
All right, I think you get the point. Steve, I just want to highlight this before we move on to our study in Genesis here. One of the things that's really exacerbating the crisis of water in Iran is actually in Afghanistan, a neighbor. The source of two rivers important to Iran's water supply, the Helmand and the Hari Rud, the Taliban are on their own dam building spree that is reducing cross-border flows. The Pashtan Dam, which went into operation in August, means Afghanistan can control up to 80% of the average stream flow of the Hari Rud, says Mitchell, threatening water supplies to much of eastern Iran, including Iran's second largest city, Mashhad. So again,
water's a big deal.
Water's a big deal. There's that old Roman saying, how do you keep your people happy? Bread and games. And, you can't forget the other big important one, and that's water. And so, this is, I think, God working to really, if you watch what's going on in Iran, it's not even necessarily outside pressures anymore. Of course, Israel went in during the 12-day war. It's not outside pressures, except for there's, of course, tariffs that have been put on or sanctions that have been put on Iran from America and some other countries as well. But at the end of the day, the thing that's really killing Iran is happening from the inside out, and that's water and protests demanding change. So I'm praying, Steve, that God's at work. I'm interested in this one thing, though. Ezekiel 38 and 39 says that Iran will be a part of this, or Persia will be a part of this list of nations that would fight against Israel, the battle of Gog and Magog. What happens if Iran becomes a friend of Israel again? You've got people in Iran who love Israel. What are your thoughts when it comes to those things?
Well, it could be the opposite. What if they want to go after the water in Israel?
Mm-hmm.
That it just says that God puts hooks in the jaws of them and the other nations. We don't know how that plays out. We do know anti-Semitism is not dead. It lives stronger than ever. We know that in the future, countries are going to attack Israel. And Chris, we're going to be talking after we do Genesis, briefly at least, about what's happening with Greenland and how it plays a role, or how it could play a role in what Donald Trump wants to accomplish. What are the manifestations, prophetically speaking, as this 10-nation confederacy comes about? It can get kind of complicated. But Chris, tomorrow, as we're taping this, tomorrow, Dr. Joe Zakovich is going to be talking about the depth of God's loving kindness. Here is Bibi talking to the Iranian people and genuinely wanting to offer them water. Mm-hmm. He wants to give them water if they would be permitted. But of course, the tyranny in that country.
This after they've sent Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis. That's all Iranian proxies.
Exactly. So Dr. Joe Zakovich is going to talk about the depth of chesed. But then in February, Iranians should listen to Bruce, Ty, and Cameron as they talk about why should we bless Israel.
Yep.
They need to hear that. Bless Israel, you'll be blessed.
Well, and the reason we're having that conversation, too, is because so many who would consider themselves evangelical Christians, conservatives, whatever it might be, that were once a stalwart for supporting Israel and the Jewish people, biblically, are now under fire, under criticism, and even from within our own camps, there's a lot of anti-Semitism that's brewing, even within the church. And so Bruce and Cam and Ty are going to talk about why it's important to hear, number one, identify who these voices are, and then be able to biblically speak against them. Because I'll tell you something, I love Ted Cruz, Steve, but when Tucker Carlson asked him, why do you support Israel biblically? And he couldn't say Genesis 12:3, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. That just goes to show, I think his heart is in the right place. It's right there. But when it comes time to biblically defend it, you got to be ready.
And part of that verse says, God says to Abraham, and you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Christians typically and rightfully talk about Jesus and the Bible. That's true. Through the seed of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, King David's greater son. That's true. But we already talked about 10 discoveries from Israel, Chris. We did. And now we're talking about water here. Regardless of how Israel's treated, they still continue to bless the world. They want to bless the world. And we should want to bless them.
That's right. Hey, Steve, yesterday I was on Crosstalk with Jim Schneider, did about an hour-long interview on what's going on in Iran, and he gives me a chance.
I knew you were. You know how I knew?
Because it goes right to Alice.
That's right, Alice. And what is going on? People are wanting stickers. What's happening? My phone is going crazy.
Crosstalk is a national program.
He's on the radio.
That's right. It's a national program, and Jim goes, You got a gift to give away, Chris? I say, 424-444-1948. You text me, I'm going to send you 50 free stickers. Well, listen, let's see if our 7 listeners can outdo Crosstalk. That's nationwide. I know we're global here. So why don't you go ahead and you text us at 424-444-1948. And
so you were on last night, or yesterday afternoon. My wife's phone is going crazy. You're talking about stickers. What do these stickers do?
These stickers bring blessing to Israel and the Jewish people.
How's that possible?
Because it creates conversation. I think Pastor Neil will be very proud of us, because something that's really important to Neil and his church,
one of our 7
listeners, is that they have a mission to start conversations about Jesus. And they have this amazing app where you can log on and say, let's say you have a conversation at work about Jesus, you just go back to your desk and you go, conversation about Jesus, and it drops a pin on a map.
Nice.
And so you can begin to see, as people travel for business.
We should do that.
It's a fantastic idea. So I think Pastor Neil will be very proud that we want to have conversations about Jesus. That's what Friends of Israel is all about, having conversations about Jesus. And so these stickers are just a tool to have conversations about why biblically you support Israel, which always leads to a conversation about the King of Israel, Jesus. So you can get your 50 free stickers by texting us at 424-1948.
We've given out thousands.
Thousands and thousands we've given out, and we're thankful for those new people who have come to Friends of Israel, who have gotten those stickers. We're grateful for you. And don't forget, you can sign up for Joe Zakovich's class and how should Christians bless Israel, all for free by going to foiequip.org. Steve, Melchizedek.
That's right. Chris, last week we were in Genesis and we talked about Yetzer Tov and Yetzer Hara. The inclination for good, Yetzer Tov, the inclination for evil, Yetzer Hara. We talked about creation in Genesis. We talked about original sin and what happened as a result. And we also talked about after sin, Adam and his wife had Seth in the image of Adam, which was now fallen Adam. Mm-hmm. And so, Chris, that really kicked off a study that we're going to go through called the minutia of Genesis.
I like this.
The minutia.
What's the minutia? What does that mean?
Well, in the book of Hebrews, the writer of the book of Hebrews tells them, Jewish people, he's writing to Jewish people, and he's saying that you guys don't even know who Melchizedek is. They have a problem with Melchizedek. And the idea, you should know who he is if you read the Bible, but you're still immature in the Lord. And so we're going to go through Genesis, starting with Melchizedek. We want to make sure everybody knows about Melchizedek. He's written about in Genesis. He's written about in the Psalms, Psalm 110, and he's written about in the New Testament. And a lot of people never heard of him, Chris. Mm-hmm. We've heard of him. We know he's significant. He's very significant. And he's really significant as if you do have a conversation with a Jewish person, talk to them about Melchizedek. Guaranteed. 98%, Chris, that if you say Melchizedek, they'll say Melchizedek what? What? In the Bible? I've never heard of them. Mm-hmm. I went through Genesis in a Hebrew school. We were translating. I never heard of Melchizedek. If I did, I certainly don't remember. But as a Christian, I actually heard a couple messages about Melchizedek. And so we want to start going through. There's so many places in Genesis where people spend time in and are well known, but there's minutia in Genesis, little nuggets that we're going to try to glean and talk about. Melchizedek is not a super minutia thing, but he's not known enough that we need to talk about him.
Well, we're talking about a total of 7 or 8 verses of actually the moment Abram meets with Melchizedek, but that kickstarts those just few verses create a thread through the Bible that
it's really a foundation, Chris.
Yeah, exactly.
It lays a foundation for what's going to come later. Which, Chris, we always talk about the inspiration of the Bible. The Bible's a unique book. It's the bestseller. It's translated in more languages than any other book. It's 66 books with one theme. And it's all true. All that's true. But when we think in terms of the story, here is Melchizedek, and we won't hear about him after this until you get to Psalm 110.
That's right.
All that time. And then from Psalm 110, you don't hear anything about him until you get to the letter that the author wrote to the book of in the book of Hebrews. But as you said, the thread, it's a rope, Chris. It is small. It's only a few times. But Chris, that thing is so important. The connection between what the writer was saying in the New Testament, between what the psalmist was writing and what actually happened. And then, Chris, here's what's funny. God writes just a few verses. Christians and Jews who comment about it write volumes.
Volumes, that's right.
And they still, to this day, no one knows if Melchizedek was Jesus, pre-incarnate Jesus, a real person. And everything I've read from the time I was first introduced to him, you look, you say, okay, who was he? Who do you say he is? Mm-hmm. Is he deity? Is he an angel? Or is he really human? And Chris, you can have an opinion, And by the way,
That's right.
you can have a second opinion.
Oh, I've got a second opinion, but you'll tell me your second opinion.
But it's just an interesting thing, Chris, because even in the few verses that we have, isn't it interesting that Melchizedek is called a priest, he's called a king, and he has bread and wine.
100%.
You can't make this stuff up. It's unbelievable that in Genesis, the first book, and by the way, he meets him after he's in a war.
That's right.
He's in a war, and then he has bread and wine.
And he's acting like a prophet. He's giving
It is amazing. Why don't you read at least the part in Genesis 14?
Yeah, well, here's the setup, too. So Abram goes on a hunt for Lot and chases him as far as
Lot had a lot of tourists, didn't he? A relative. Everyone has a relative who needs some sort of help.
That's right. A lot,
You got a lot.
You're a lot for me here, okay? So Lot gets captured, gets taken north. So Abram leaves, goes north with the army, a group that he brings up, defeats the kings that were going against him, captures Lot, brings him back down. It says in verse...
He doesn't capture.
He liberates it. Sorry. He captures the...
Well, maybe a family member.
That's what I'm saying. Get back here. Let's go.
Let me get you here.
Yeah, that's right. So he says in verse 16, he recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions together with the women and the other people. So after Abram returned from defeating Chedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh. That's the king's valley. And then Melchizedek. So Melchizedek is technically on the way down because that king's valley sits right on a ridge, and the ridge that's there has a town called Jebusi, or even earlier before that called Salem.
Yep.
And that's going to be where we get the name Jerusalem from. Because he's coming from Jerusalem.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's amazing. So of course he comes. Melchizedek, the king of Salem, he wants to come out. So Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was the priest of God Most High.
El Elyon.
That's right. And he blessed Abram, saying, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand." Then Abram gave him a tenth of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, "Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself." But Abram said to the king of Sodom with raised hand, "I have sworn an oath to the Lord, the God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a strap of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, 'I made Abram rich.' I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten and the share that belongs to the men who went with me to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share." So that kind of is all of it couched together, but that tiny little moment with Melchizedek is a game changer.
It is a game changer, Chris. We're talking about a person who comes on the scene. We're later told in the book of Hebrews, where'd he come from? What's his background? What's going on? And then where did he go?
That's right.
He's there. He is the one that is paid a tithe by Abraham. And Abraham, as the story goes on, the narrative goes on, Abraham is selected by God. He's the one that God's going to use, the family, his descendants. But wait a minute, Abraham, who is the father of our faith, and whether you're Jewish or Christian, or in my case, both, he's the father of our faith. He pays the tithe to Melchizedek.
That's right.
Who is now greater than he is.
That's right.
And he is a king, he is a priest, and he's acting as a prophet. So who is this guy?
Well, it's interesting, too, because his name tells us a lot. Melchizedek is essentially the righteous king. That's what it means. Melchi is my king.
And this is after a war with 3 crazy people who took Lot.
That's right.
And now you got the king of righteousness.
That's right. And he's coming down, and he comes and he says, and Steve, it's also really important that I think just have a quick discussion about this concept of El Elyon, the Most High God. There were a lot of gods, and being a polytheist, you could be a quasi-monotheist. You could believe that there's one important God in the midst of a bunch of gods, but that there's one God that's greater than every other God. And this God stands apart from every other God. In fact, I think it's Psalm 95. I'd have to double check it, but it talks about the fact that there is God, the Most High, and then these under gods it talks about, and in the Greek it translates them as daemons, which is where we get the word demon from. And so there are these underling kind of in a spiritual realm, these you might call them under gods or whatever. But the ultimate point is that that Melchizedek comes out after God calls Abram and says, "Follow me, the one God." And then who is Melchizedek? He's not claiming all these gods. He's claiming the Most High God. That's a big thing because it's almost as if Melchizedek and Abram see eye to eye on this concept of the one true God, the God of who would become Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Well, Chris, you're talking about during Abraham and Melchizedek's time and the multi-gods they have. Chris, we're more sophisticated. It's some almost 6,000 years, depending on your chronology, 5,786 years ago. But wait a minute. We have gods, don't we?
Oh, 100%.
We have gods. We're here in Philadelphia last weekend. The Eagles took it on the chin. I know you're disappointed. My son is pretty happy because Chicago's playing.
They're killing it.
But Chris, thousands, millions were at the edge of their seat. They're all watching. There is right now nothing in the United States supersedes the NFL in live watching. No, more people watch live NFL than any other. It's the number one thing. They have radio shows, talk shows. They have websites. So sports could be your God. But then there's other things as well. There's family. There's all kinds of different things that become Most High to us. And I like the term the Most High God. It's a great reminder for us as believers. When you take inventory of your life, and as Christians, we at least we should do it on a daily basis, but in church corporately, when you take the bread and the wine, right, during communion, you're to come back to God and say, hey, you are the Most High in my life. We don't always practice it, but we know we should at least believe it and then come back. And it's a great reminder to us. God is the Most High. He needs to be in that place in our heart as well.
100%. Steve, you actually have on here too that Abram presented Melchizedek with a tithe. Can you talk about that a little bit more? What did that signify? When the kid comes out and gives you a tithe.
Giving a tithe, this is before the law, before the temple, before all that. But giving a tithe was automatic recognition that the person you're giving this to, you're honoring them. They are better than you. You are giving them and acknowledging the blessing they are to you. And so you give a tithe. Well, by the way, in the temple, a tithe was given. We have Pentecost, before that, first fruits. The idea was, who do you give the tithe to? You give it to God, and you give it through a priest. This would be remember we did Leviticus, and we talked about those 7 feasts and the offerings that go on. But a tithe, there's a voluntary tithe of giving the best that you have first to God.
Isn't it interesting too that he takes it from Melchizedek, but he doesn't take anything from the king of... Like, here are these 2 kings coming out, and the one king says, here's a tithe, I'm giving it to you, Melchizedek. And the other one says, hey, look.
Take everything.
You can
take it all.
Yeah, he says, give me the people, and you keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom with raised hands, I have sworn an oath to the Lord, that's Yahweh, he gives his name, to the Lord God Most High. So now, it's funny, Abram is actually naming who this Most High God is. He's calling him Yahweh, creator of heaven and earth. And I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or a strap of a sandal, so that you will not be able to say, I made Abram rich. So if you look, he turns down Sodom, the king of Sodom, but he takes the tithe from Melchizedek, which is just, again, an interesting thing that he says, I don't want anything to do with you, buddy, but he takes the blessing. And again, like you're saying, this also shows that a king and a priest and one acting like a prophet is also the one who's giving. He's a nobody. Abram is a nomadic man. I mean, I know he means a lot to us. He means everything to God, but you got to imagine what's going on in that time. You wouldn't even know who Abram is. Here he is coming up. He goes, takes his relative. He conquers the kings, comes back down. I'm sure Melchizedek was overwhelmed by that. But at the same time, he does something amazing. He shows that he is lesser than Abram and in his position.
It says Melchizedek blessed Abram. He said, blessed be Abram by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. He gives him a blessing. So Abraham pays him a tithe, he gets a blessing. It's amazing.
All right, well, Steve, I think we need to come back to this next week, and we'll pick up.
We do, and in fact, Chris, we should just pick one of our news things because of time. We've lost all of our listeners by now.
You think they're gone?
I'm not sure anybody's left.
Hey, listen, if you're listening right now, you made it
good for you. If you're listening,
text us
at 424-444-1948 and say, I made it through.
I know. Well, we're not even done yet.
That's true.
All right, Steve, what do you got in the news for us?
Well, our own Rob Gottslig wrote in Harbingers about the delusion, even amid the Venezuelan chaos, Israel is blamed. Do you have anything on that?
It says last week the United States led tactically precise military operations against Venezuela, resulting in the capture of President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, transporting them to New York, where they will face narco-terrorism charges. And he goes on to talk about the fact that Israel somehow has always become, with everybody, it says within minutes, the United with Israel reported within minutes, Candace Owens reframed Venezuela's liberation into an Israel-centric conspiracy, declaring that...
Of course, blame it on Israel.
That's right.
We're responsible for everything that happens bad. That's what they always say.
Zionists cheer every regime change because they steal land, oil, and other resources. That's Candace Owens. It was breathtaking pivot. The group noted, a dictator falls and somehow the villain is Israel. Not corruption, not tyranny, not the architects of a failed socialist experiment, but Israel. And Candace wasn't alone, he writes, according to the United for Israel. Cenk Uygur, a Turkish-American political activist, says jumped on the same bandwagon, arguing that Donald Trump was acting like Hillary Clinton at her neocon peak. Accusing the administration of bombing all over the planet, Nigeria, Somalia, Venezuela, and sneering, why do we have to fight all of Israel's wars?
You could blame it on us, but then, Chris, we won't even have time to read it, but it will be in the show notes. Another invention by the Jewish people, a synthetic corneal implant. Leave it to us.
There you go.
Leave it to us.
Now you can see better.
We'll include that in the show notes.
I did see, too, just to go back to Venezuela really quick, I did see that the VP of Venezuela, who is in charge right now, was a very anti-Semitic and extremely anti-Israel, blamed everything on Israel. Israel is the problem with this and that. And then Machado, who is the woman in exile,
right? The Nobel Prize winner.
That's right. Who actually won the election? I've heard numbers as much as 90% or 80% of the Venezuelans voted for her. Says that she's going to move the embassy to Jerusalem and she's going to be an avid supporter of Israel. So again, you can't sit there and say, oh, Israel, the Zionists convinced the Americans to do this. When Donald Trump didn't move her into power, the one who supports Israel, it's still the vice president.
100%.
I'm telling you, these people, they'll blame. This is 1930s all over. Blaming the Jewish people. Anytime I hear the word Zionist anymore, Steve, this is what I hear. Jews.
Yep.
And they blend the words. I don't have to make that up. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, all these people. That's right. Non-Jews, I'd like a second opinion. Jews, I'd like to give a second opinion.
That's right.
There we go. All right, Steve, here we go. Yiddish word of the day.
Yiddish word for the day. We're actually repeating one. That word is nosh. When you want a snack, you have a nosh. Well, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel has told us to eat ice cream.
He wants you to eat ice
So
cream.
I looked up what is the Yiddish word for ice cream, and talk about funny, it's called ice cream. AYZKREM. We want you to be happy. Have some ice cream.
Oh, man. So ice creme. Is that the word?
No, it's eyes with the Z. AYZKREM. So we say ice cream. This is ice cream.
Ice cream. All right. Well, we want you to get some ice cream. We want you to be happy.
Snacks. Nosh on some ice cream.
Hey, you know what? Hey, next time you're listening to the Jew and Gentile podcast or you're watching us, maybe you could get some ice cream and be happy.
That's
you know?
right.
Because you
Play
got
the song.
That's right. Because you're working your way through the Jew and Gentile podcast. You're probably going, I need something to make me happy.
You're like a marathon runner.
That's right. All right, hey, listen. Be sure to get your stickers.
424-1948.
And don't forget, when you text us, not only do that, go to foiequip.org because it's there that you can sign up for our amazing upcoming classes for free Thursday night, tomorrow night. Joe Zakovich on Hesed, and then also Ty, Bruce, and Cameron, FOI reps, talking about why we should bless Israel today, especially with all the anti-Semitism going on. You want to join us for that, foiequip.org. Hey, thanks so much for being with us, and we'll see you next week.